I'm Trisha Farron, and this is Keeping the Real in Real Estate. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking with you about what I did to start my own hobby garden. Now, in the beginning, I thought I would never be a gardener. I'm an indoor girl. I don't like to play in the dirt, and I don't like mice and rodents and any kind of bug. So it never occurred to me that there would be a way that I can do a garden that would appeal to my sense of indoorness, but still keep me outside and enjoying what I could actually grow and feed my family with. When I first started, there's a raised bed on the side there. That was what I thought I could do, and I planted herbs. And that was great that 1 year. But I realized quickly that only growing herbs wasn't going to be enough for me. I wanted to grow vegetables. And I did try to put tomatoes and cucumbers in there, and that was a total fiasco because there wasn't enough space. So I thought, I have space in my yard. I think I can grow a nice vegetable garden if I used raised garden beds. So we created wood boxes. Now, I learned this on Pinterest and saw that it actually is not that difficult. We called Rings End and actually gave them the dimensions of what the boards were going to be. So when they delivered the wood, it was already pre-cut. We got specialized nails, and we actually banged in these nails with a drill. It sounds strange, but it kind of worked that way. They're kind of more like screws, not nails. And we created each bed, and then we strategically placed them. Now, I could tell you, your aspirations are going to want to make big beds. They're super heavy, so decide where you want them to be so that you don't have to move them in too far of a distance. We also lined the bottom of each bed with chicken wire, chicken fencing. I am really, did I say really afraid of mice. So the idea of sharing my space with a rodent, I just can't get that past my mind. So I put the chicken wire at the bottom. I put weed cover. Then we had dirt delivered, and we then filled each of the boxes. Every box was fertilized, and then they were ready for plantings. So that lasted me, I want to say it was like 2 years, maybe 3. I also put a fence around the entire garden as I wanted to keep deer out and any other kind of wildlife to the best of my ability. I still struggle with that. I have to plant things like marigolds and onions in strategic places to keep rabbits out, to keep squirrels out. The scent of an onion they don't like, so that keeps them at bay. And I plant deer-resistant flowers around the edges of the garden to keep those away. But it's nice because I have a door on either side, so if I'm weeding or if I want to pull the hose, I have easy access inside and out. I do have an automatic waterer that I keep around because I know me. I'm a realtor. I'm busy. My day doesn't necessarily end up the way it started. So I don't want to have to worry that, oh my goodness, I forgot to water the plants. So we do put an automatic waterer on. It goes on for 15 minutes in the morning, like at around 6 a.m., and another 15 minutes like at around 7 p.m. So you don't want to do it right in the middle of the day, just early morning and later in the evening. After I realized that even though I had 9 boxes, and there was another box that I had to dismantle because it got wood rot and was just falling apart. So instead I put a little table with some chairs because I do like to sit out in my garden. But I realized, as crazy as it sounds, 9 boxes is not enough. I don't know why, but my zucchinis, my cucumbers, and my tomatoes grow like Jumanji. So even though I have all these boxes, I have to really think about what it is that I want to grow because I just can't grow everything. And certainly if it's viney or has gigantic leaves, I have to be pretty considerate about where I'm going to put it to make sure that the plant has enough room to grow. So a couple of years back, I realized, gosh, I guess it's been about 3 years now, I realized that a way that I can enhance the garden is if I got a greenhouse. So this is my she shed, and I absolutely love it. Not only can I keep all my stuff together in one place, but I can actually start my growing season a little bit earlier and let it end a little bit later. Now, the reality is that this is a hobby garden. I do not want to dedicate myself to gardening all year long, as I kind of do like the change of seasons and the different activities that you do in each season. So it's important to me to get started a little bit early, and if I need to, be able to bring my plants inside, most notably my herbs, because I gotta say, having fresh herbs to cook with throughout the summer season, spring and fall, is remarkable. I really taste the difference in what I'm cooking. I make sauces, I dry them and make seasoning mixes for the winter. So I want to extend that part of the season as long as possible so that I can definitely get the best out of it as I can. Except for my chives, I have to replant every single herb that I do. Chives keep coming back year after year. So I do run low, and it's very upsetting when you go out and you see it's like, yeah, the season's over. So I do use the greenhouse for that. But before the greenhouse was here, I had stuff in the shed, which I hate because mice live there. I had stuff in the garage. I had stuff in the basement. I left some things just right in the garden. I actually tried to do like a mini indoor greenhouse in the house, so I had stuff there. It was kind of getting ridiculous. And then the season would start. I would go to order more stuff and realize I already had what I needed, but didn't have other things that I needed. So just from an organization standpoint, it was terrible. So the shed allowed me to organize in order and not overdoing things, plus extending my season. So why don't I take you for a tour inside. Right now we are in the middle of May, so I'm not ready to start planting anything. I'm going to wait about another couple weeks, but I want to show you what I've gotten started. So come on. Here we are at the entrance of the greenhouse. Now, I know I've mentioned it 1,000 times that I'm afraid of mice. So one of the things that I did is I put a lock right that perfectly aligns the door with the edges so that they can't get in, because this just slides. So if the wind takes it, or if I didn't shut it quite right, that little entry point could create an opening for a mouse, which is just dreadful to me. Now, it's still a work in progress for the season, so don't be judgy. One of the things that I did is I got 2 rain barrels. This is wonderful because I have gutters that come down and they will pour water into the barrels, so I have access to water all the time. I also ran electricity from the edge of the garden underneath, and it comes in here, so I can put a fan, I could put a heater. If I wanted to put misters, I can connect it into the rain barrels. It gives me a lot of options. Plus, if I'm coming in at night, I can bring light and then not, be freaked out. I'm an indoor girl. So inside come with me here. Okay. Inside the greenhouse, I had the great fortune of finding this fantastic farmer's table. It's 10 feet long. So I keep all my work in progress plants in there. It could get wet. It has access, of course, to all the sun and light. And it is just a great place for organization. I also have other forms of shelving that I keep empty pots, my tools, my gloves, buckets, things that are seasonal, like my stakes for the tomatoes, like whatever it is that I need that's considered like tools or accessories, I keep there. And for me, that keeps me nice and organized so that I'm able to see what it is that I have and what else do I still need. I have garbage pails that I use when I bring into the garden for weeding. I have rakes and shovels and brooms in here. But the greenhouse has 2 skylights that open based on the temperature of outside. So I don't have to worry that the plants are cooking in here or that it's too cold, because the skylights will adjust accordingly. There's a little adapter that I take out in the winter. You actually stick it in the freezer, and then when you're ready to put it in, you let it sit overnight to defrost. You pop them in and it works like a charm. It's really wonderful. All throughout the walls is a little ledge that you could put clips in so that you can hang things. I have Bluetooth speakers so I can listen to music. I have lamps, lanterns for light, and I can hang hangers so I could dry my herbs, planters, all sorts of different things that you can hang based on the kind of hook that you put. And let me tell you, there is no limit to all the accessories that you can get. It's hard to stay focused and not continue to buy because there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Um, while I don't have it up now, I actually have a shade that I can put. The sun's coming from this side all the time, and sometimes it gets to be a bit much even though I have the windows. So I can put a shade to just kind of protect the plants a little bit more than, a little bit better in the really hot days. I've got a toolbox on the bottom that wheels. I can use it as a seat and bring it into the garden, and I can keep things like seeds and clippers and twisty ties, all sorts of different things to that are helpful when I'm actually in the garden, so that I'm not going back and forth. Even though it's right here, you don't realize all the equipment that you can use. You don't have to have it, but you can have it, and it becomes a bit much when you lug everything into the garden and are kind of fighting around for space for it, and then you have to put everything away at the end. Cleanup and setup, never been a fun thing for me. I kind of like just doing it. In the back is where I have my prep table. I've got my plants started. I've planted seeds for a bunch of different herbs, and I'm trying different vegetables this year. I always do tomatoes, zucchini, and cucumber. They do very well in my garden, and they're so versatile. I mean, come August, you're just about sick of cucumbers and zucchini and tomatoes, but I can make pickles from the cucumbers, and I make sauce with the tomatoes and soup with the zucchini that I freeze. And we have homemade fresh grown stuff in the winter that tastes delicious with the fresh herbs that I've grown. And I know it's bug free and pesticide free. I don't use any of those things in my garden. I try to find as many holistic natural ways to deter slugs and beetles and gross things that you don't want in your garden. Let's see. I'm going to be laying down. So I have a floor that is a plastic floor. I don't know if you could see it. But even though we had put down, again, chicken wire on the bottom and weed control underneath, weeds are still making their way through. I don't know if you could see this. Drives me crazy. So what I did is I purchased an indoor-outdoor fake grass. And I am going to line the entire bottom with it so that it's very easy for me to stand on while I'm working in here. I can be here 2-3 hours. It's very easy. But also it'll keep it clean. It still has a couple of holes in strategic areas, so if it does get moisture in here, it'll just flow right down to the bottom. But hopefully it'll deter weeds from popping up, because it looks run down when everything looks nice and pretty and then you have weeds coming up the bottom. I can't stand that. I have also put little stools in here so that while I'm working, I have a place to sit. Sometimes I just put the music on, sit, and just kind of look at the garden. It's a very, very peaceful place to be. I've seen these greenhouses where they don't even put the kinds of growing materials that I have in here. I've seen them with little chairs and sofas. I've seen them with, this is completely dry. You can pop a TV in here if you wanted to have another place to kind of just relax. Reading nooks, all sorts of different things. For me, I'm using it more as a repository to hold all my tools and to extend my growing season, both in the front end and in the back end. And I can tell you there have been plenty of times where things just didn't work out the way they were supposed to, and I didn't water things right, or it got too hot, or the seeds weren't good. So I just go and I get starter plants, and although the middle of May is a common time in Connecticut to start your garden, I feel like the 3rd or 4th week in May has proven to be a little bit better for my soil, for my sun, for my amount of water, and just for the way in which I like to run my garden. So I have about another week or 2 before I go into the next phase of digging holes and planting roots. And I love to see how pretty it looks because there's no weeds. Everything's dark because I've wet all the soil, and there's fertilizer in there, and it's just ready to go. But it's truly somewhere in July, I would say, is when it really becomes fun, because you start seeing all the labors of your efforts and little buds coming out, and you say, it's going to be a big tomato season, or oh my God, did you see the size of the cucumbers coming in? And it's really, really exciting. So I hope if you have the desire to grow your own vegetables or herbs, that some of the information I've provided is helpful to you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. This was certainly not a quick weekend project. This has been years in the making. What I will say is, whatever size you think you need, double it. Because, starting with just a tiny little herb garden and going to now 9 boxes and a greenhouse is a completely different world for the girl who said she was an indoor girl and would never dig herself in the dirt. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.